is possible. And even, you look, even in Europe, people are even taxed more than we do. But there is work to be done.
You know the difference?
There is work to be done, and they see value of the taxes.
The difference is the taxes are predictable.
Exactly.
I know if I earn 100,000 shillings, 50 goes to the government, or 46 goes to, it's predictable. Here you wake up the following financial year, things are different.
But they
what
also
if it was
have financial
predictable?
years, and that's what I'm saying. The proof of this finance bill and the
is in the eating. So you're asking us to.
Let's have this discussion in 6 months.
Yes.
Let's see how good are we moving from it or bad, so that by the time, and by the way, and I'm happy that you also brought the counties in this business. The next scrutiny will be now in the counties, because all these finance bills are passed in the counties. There are all these taxes, I don't know about chicken and all, that are hidden and no one talks about. So now Kenyans are going to ask, let me see how much you've given us in terms of taxes. What are you raising? Because all these counties, 100, in fact 90-something% totally depend on national government. So it is a big problem, and we need to start asking the questions. After 10 years, what is the contribution in terms of own source revenue from the counties to stop relying wholly on the national government, and what do we need to do to spur growth within the counties so that they are able to be less dependent on government, and then people can start seeing
you and I, because you are not a first timer.
Yes.
You and I know counties are different. There are counties that are endowed.
Yes.
There are counties with tourism.
Yes.
And then they have agriculture and all this. And then there are counties with no way of raising revenue, except probably the cess and market levies and all that, right? Yeah. So is it practical? That's just a side question. Is it practical that we can get to a level that you can depend on own source revenue?
I'll give you a good example of Nairobi. The projections for Nairobi is usually that we can actually raise about 18 to 20 billion in a year. What do? We raise half of that. So, and year income,
and you think it's just leaking money that leaks out?
Of course, it's part of leakages. Some things that need intervention. I'll give you a good example. Half of Nairobi is not titled. So what would stop Nairobi government from issuing titles at a very marginal cost? But they now collect it in terms of rates. Because if you do not have a title deed, you pay something called a ground rate. So people in those areas pay like 1,000 shillings or less. But if you get a title deed, it's a percentage of the value. So things again change. So does it mean that if we added more value, Kiambu, for example, is also a big county that is coming up, is a bedroom for Nairobi. How do they ensure that their cities are packaged in a way that they can tap in terms of this way, and then also in the agricultural side they do this. So we need now to have this conversation, because at the end of the day, all these things start from planning. Remember, there is what is it called, the social SDGs, governed by the world and the UN, and then there is a Vision 2030. And then there is the national policy. And then there is the CIDPs for the counties and the annual development plans. How is there correlation? Because the last time I had a huge discussion about Vision 2030 is when Kibaki was president. So when now the new administration came in, are we still aligning ourselves? Because Vision 2030 says that we compound 10% GDP growth for about 20 years, and then we'll move to the next income as a middle income country. Have we been getting anywhere near 7% for the last 10 years? And then what made them come up with that 10%? How are we veering off, and what do we need to do to go back to the railroad back where we're going wrong? So this is a discussion. And then whatever national government is doing, what is the Nairobi County doing, and all these other 47 counties, in aligning ourselves to get to where we need to go? That is the conversation. And then we start talking about that kind of planning, then everyone is aligned in making this country move in a direction that in the next year, can we give ourselves as a country and counties that we are going to get 10% GDP growth?
What is the most practical aspect of the finance bill that you think benefits the counties?
For me, number one, I think they are going to collect. There's this thing of VAT. Is it VAT collecting within a short time? It used to be the proposal was 24 hours. Now it's moved to 5 days.
Yes.
The biggest problem, I think, from national government to counties is the delay in remittances of money that goes to the county. If that is sorted out as a starting point, so that now
you're comfortable with the 400B to the counties.
We can start from there. Because even if you get 600 billion that is late 6 months, all these counties,
doesn't help you.
It doesn't help all these guys. And the county is not the one that is suffering. It's the business people who have pending bills, who are waiting to be paid, that are pushed here and there, and they have loans and all that. I think that one can be, we can start from that as a starting point, and then we proceed.
Well, what is the most practical aspect? I know you're opposing, and you said at the beginning that you'd rather throw the baby with the bathwater. Yeah. But what is the most practical thing for the counties, for example, that they think will benefit? Because the bill will be passed.
Yes.
It will be, if you go by what's happening in Parliament today, it will be passed. Is there a practical thing that you say from where you sit as a Mheshimiwa, this is the most practical aspect that I think benefits directly the counties?
Ken, as you said, the bill will be passed. And I mean, it has already passed the most critical part. That was the second reading today in Parliament. And as Mheshimiwa here has said that the collection, that is, I think, it means the 20% withholding tax.
Yeah.
You see, as it was before now the proposals, it used to be every 20th. Understand? Now it's proposing that we do that. It was 24 hours. Then now the committee reviewed to 5 days. I still believe that 5 days is not enough. Is not sufficient. That means, with already the high cost of living, that company, that agency that was collecting on behalf of the government, means it has to add additional staff. It has to increase more cost, so that it can be able to efficiently do it in 5 days or in 24 hours. But you see now we cannot do that. That is not very practical. That is not practical because businesses are closing, just like we've discussed, and that is due to high cost of living. So companies cannot afford to add more people, let's say more accountants, so that can be achieved. Yes. So still 5 days is not enough.
He's saying the taste of the pudding must be in the eating. We wouldn't know until we apply. That's what he says.
I do not agree.
I presume you're a businesswoman.
Yes.
From where you sit, it's impracticable.
It is very impractical.
It's not impractical.
And I said it is going to add on the cost of doing business, because we are already now doing like every 20 days. Now reducing it to 24 hours or say 5 days, it's not practical.
What was the mischief, probably, before she continues, on the reduction and then the increase again? What was the mischief by the government? Would you know why that happened?
Well, I don't want to speculate, and I wouldn't call it really mischief. Actually, I would rather say that this finance bill shall benefit us. I don't know whether you want to go to her, because I don't want to say there was mischief, but I would say this benefits the county on two counts. One, he has talked about the ability of the respective counties raising their OSR. And in Kiambu, I think the World Bank said we can correct 13B. The highest we've corrected is 3.1. We are targeting to correct 50% of what the studies have shown we are capable of correcting. Now, if we succeed at the national level, we are the bedroom of Nairobi. Of course, we are getting lessons from what the national government is doing. We shall implement it. We shall raise our OSR. We are going to get the CRA. We are going to get the equitable share as we've budgeted for. And that means if we budget based on a certain amount from the equitable share and our OSR, and we don't meet them, it means we are going to have more pending bills. But if we meet our targets and we get the amount that we require, the issue of pending...
The question is, Mheshimiwa, can Kiambu County, for example, meet the revenue target? Have you set your own target? Let's start from there.
Yes, we've set, that's what I said. Our budget at the county level...
Forget about what World Bank said. As
yes,
the county,
7B.
To 7B, double what was being collected in the last...
okay. Yes.
Okay, 7B, which is, I don't know, practical, out of 13. It's
if we look at our sources, land, for instance, we've looked at the loopholes, we've come up at the committee level as an assembly, we've come up with measures to seal the loopholes. We might not attain 100% of what we are capable, and that's why we were not overambitious and set it at 13B. We said we shall set it at 7B, seal the loopholes, encourage, come up with deterrent measures, yes, but still encourage people to pay. Show them the needs.
What percentage will that pay in terms of your annual expenditure? That increase, what percentage of it?
Our annual expenditure in terms of?
Or if you collect 7 billion,
yes,
right, double what you collected the last time it was collected, how much of this is a percentage of the total expenditure for Kiambu County?
Recurrent, you mean? Because
yes,
development,
recurrent, yes, recurrent. This has to be recurrent.
Development, we are targeting 33%.
Okay, 33%.
3% above the expected. That is 30%.
Okay.
33%. And these are not impractical things. These are doable things. These are things that we can do if we encourage our people to pay taxes. Why did Kibaki succeed, for instance? And I think he mentioned that because he came up with kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. And if we educate our people, encourage them, the young people that are being employed by KRA, for instance, they're not coming to police over us. They are coming to educate us and tell us why paying taxes, because I want that road tarmacked.
But you've just made the worst comparison. Kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. But do you remember Kibaki, one of his first acts, one, education alitoa, you don't pay at all. Yes. Hospital alitoa. I mean, he did not overburden. Yes. He let people pay tax, but